So I want you to think back. For some of you, this requires less distance than others. What's one of the first songs for Hanukkah that you ever learned? Okay, dreidel, 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 okay. Ooh, you were very advanced. I haven't heard the one I was thinking of yet. I had a little dreidel. I made it out of. Okay. Oh, you've heard of it. Oh, good. So, if I'm being honest, I have to say that I Had a Little Dreidel is not one of my favorite Hanukkah songs. If I was creating a bottom 5 list of Hanukkah songs, it might occupy all 5 spots, even with some of the more contemporary versions of it. But I have to say there's something that appeals to me about it, because what are you doing with this blob of clay? You're making something out of it. You're shaping it. You're forming it. You're taking this thing that is just a lump of clay and you're turning it into a functional dreidel. And I have to say that I've come over the years to look at this song as sort of a bit of a metaphor. And just as when we were kids, we sing about shaping a clump of clay into a dreidel, I kind of read the song through the prism of the piyut that we say on Yom Kippur, and it is about how we shape ourselves, how we fashion ourselves as human beings, how we shape our souls and transform ourselves into something better with each passing iteration. Hanukkah becomes an opportunity to think about what are the forces in the world and in our lives that shape us into the human beings that we are. What are the things that allow us to say, this is who I am, and this is who I am not? And what changes do I want to make? How do I want to reshape the vessel that I am? I want to change perhaps some of the external trappings, and perhaps even more so, what internal changes do I want to make? It's intriguing that Hanukkah always coincides with the parshiot about the story of Joseph. And Joseph goes through this same kind of transformation. Right? Think about Joseph at the beginning of the story. Right? Joseph tattles on his brothers all the time. Right? Joseph is bragging and boastful. I'm going to be honest, he's kind of a jerk. You know, he's obnoxious in a way that only a 17-year-old can be. But we watch, as we read the Joseph story, that Joseph goes through transformations. Some of them are external. He wears, the coat that his father gave him became a symbol of his arrogance. And the prison garb became a symbol of the humility that he starts to develop. And we see the ebb and flow of Joseph's life, the transformation, both external and internal, so that when he gets to be the viceroy, oh, sorry, that was a spoiler alert, sorry. When he gets to be the viceroy of Egypt, Unlike when he put on the cloak of many colors and boasted and bragged, it was a humbler, more sensitive, more worldly, more worthy Joseph. And so part of what I would like to share with you is this idea that comes from our teacher, the Sfat Emet, who says that during the 8 days of Hanukkah, the same spiritual lights that were created by the miracle of the Chanukiah, the original menorah, are once again available to every Jewish soul. However, he writes, in order to experience and feel this unique light, we need to detach ourselves from the natural order of things and thereby ready ourselves to receive that which emanates from above and beyond the natural order. Put back into the idiom that we've been using, we need to step outside of our existing mold, one that we've crafted and honed for ourselves, and look at it and say, that's me, but that's not the best me. And how can I reshape myself? How can I take the light of the Chanukiah and use it as a guide? Throughout the festival, for each of the 8 nights, the lights that we kindle and we say this in the prayer, Hanerot halalu kodeshem, these lights are holy, they're sacred, and we're not allowed to use them for reading or for other things. We're supposed to just enjoy and bask in their light and in their glow. We have to be conscious of them. They're calling us to pay attention and to focus. Think about the story of Moshe. Moses at the burning bush. Moshe, in order to recognize that the bush is on fire and not burning up, has to stay there and pay attention and focus on it. How many of you ever watched a wet branch on a fire? It takes a while. So for Moshe, it's not just, oh, look at that. Oh, how do you like that? A bush, and it's not being consumed. No. He's got to stand there and focus. Picture for a moment the Maccabees and the Jews who are with them, who've just cleaned and polished and transformed the temple back into a sacred space, and they light the one cruse of oil that they find. As the first 24 hours are winding down, what are they watching for? Watching for the flame to sputter and go out. Because that's all that there is. And then it keeps going. And they have to keep watching, and they have to keep paying attention to this flame that they're not sure when it's going to go out. Well, should have gone out, but it's now day 2. And they're still focused because they recognize that they are experiencing something that is beyond. It is the light of the Holy One that is meant to beckon us, to draw us away from the ordinary and to experience a moment of transcendence and of godliness. Same way that the blessings that we recite are meant to do the same thing. They call our attention away from the physical to the spiritual, to dramatic moments that might otherwise go unnoticed. They are a spiritual corrective lens that guides us to see beyond, to see more blessing, more light, and therefore more life. The Zohar puts the following into the mouth of God. The little lights of your menorah are more precious to me than the lights of all the stars that I have placed in the sky. For the Holy One sees in us a precious spark, a precious source of light that can transform itself and bring light into the world. Oh, for the rest of Hanukkah, as you light the Chanukiah, pause. Look into the light and let it be a mirror. Look into the light and see the spark of divinity that exists. See yourself as a light that emanates God's light into the world. Shape yourself so as to be the most pristine and prismatic expression of who we are, and then we are truly the blessing that God sees in us. Haverim, let me invite you to please rise for Aleinu, page 56.